Welcome to Reminiscing, our Highline History, a radio show presenting the memories of our community in the Highline area at 106.5 LP FM, South King County. Listen to a new episode every week with your host, Roger Price. Ready for more stories?
Hi, I'm Roger Price, and I'm at the museum this afternoon, and I have John Applegate with me, friend, and also a Highline graduate back in the day, but he's going to give us his fun stories about when he grew up in the Burien Highline area and also Hurstwood. That's kind of where he lived during school. So, John, I'm gonna let you kind of go follow me into your fun days in Burien.
Well, Roger, thank you. It's nice to be here. My family, my dad, my three sisters, in 1962, I believe it was, we moved from Normandy Vista to Hurstwood. And I think at the time there were maybe 8 houses in Hurstwood, and we were down on 17th. And God, I was thinking on my way here, I wasn't quite a feral kid, but we had all those woods, and Hurstwood had control or ownership of the what Cedar Park is now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess there was like 1 or 2 other families, the Wagners, a really good Burien area name.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go down to the beach, spend most of the time down there, and then we'd mess around up in the woods. And I mean, Roger, those woods were there was just no end to them.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
We could go north up over the edge where 18th meets 17th, and it's just behind where it used to be Burien Gardens Elementary. And you can go from there all the way down to the old Fox property,
Mm-hmm.
which I'd like to spend a couple of moments on that.
Sure, yeah, we'd like to hear that.
So, and it really was the Wagners. It was Kevin Wagner was the guy that I used to pal around with, and then the Palumbos, and they were, I think it must have been on 16th that they were. But we'd go down and we'd make our own jigs, I think it's a jig for spear fishing. And I mean, the water was just perfect. There's a sand flat out in front of the old Fox Estate, which is now the Marine Technology Lab. And I remember this one goofy time that I think it was Rick Palumbo stabbed his own foot with his thing, and the caretaker, who was a bit on the cantankerous side, as I remember it, and that was a private estate at the time. He came out with a pair of cutters and cut the spear off Rick's foot. And by that time, I think his mom had come down and took him up and got him all fixed up. But it was just like kids' paradise down there. You couldn't really drive too well unless you had a big 4-wheel drive because the road was dirt and it was extremely rutted. They were all young families, and so nobody had extra money to grate the roads and whatnot. And as I understand, a lot of teenagers used to hang out down there for beer parties and whatnot. I don't think I ever really ran into any of that. But again, the Hurstwood, Sears Beach, just an absolute wonderful place, like it is now. I'm trying to think other things that the Fox Estate. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So as kids, we had a lot of enthusiasm, but not a lot of smarts. And so we found out that there was this dam up behind the Marine Technology Lab or the Fox Estate. And the dam was, I'm going to guess, bad memory is, it's probably 20 feet across and probably 8 or so feet deep. On the backside of it is all wood. It was falling down. The water on the held side was all dark black, from all the leaves rotting and whatnot. No one was messing with it. So we walked across it. I remember that instead of just going around, we had to walk across it. we all made it, but man, that wood was rotten. And then we found out that, or we found there's these cedar wood pipes wrapped with steel wire, and it went all the way down to the beach, and it was used, the Fox family, they put the dam in and then put all the piping in, and it was used to probably fill up the swimming pool that they had, but primarily it was to power the merry-go-round. And it was
Yeah.
like unbelievable. But to find the old wire wrap cedar pipes was quite something up in the woods. And in 1971, 72, I graduated in 72 from Highline, but I was part of the first graduating class of the Marine Technology Lab. And so part of the transition from the old Fox estate to the Highline School, or I think Highline School District that owns the property, there was the old boathouse, and we still have, I think, aluminum boats, whatnot, in there that Mr. Rice, the teacher, would teach us how to row. Probably nothing better for us to do. But anyway, he taught us how to row, and he had a bullhorn and stuff like that. But anyway, in this boathouse, there was all kinds of old, like a stuffed moray eel or a wolf eel, and all the parts and pieces for the merry-go-round were stored in there. So it's like it was more than just a rumor. Is that we actually saw the merry-go-round parts and pieces. I have no idea what happened to them, but yeah, it was amazing. Just really amazing that the Foxes had this property down there.
Yes, I don't know the story quite as well as you do, but there were I think there were a couple boys older than we were. Bob Fox, he owned the Fox Mazda in Burien with so and also he had a younger brother, which I'd like to get a hold of him sometime and also interview him. But yeah, it was a carousel, and like you say, merry-go-round. That would have, I mean, when you were 15, 12 years old, that was nothing cooler than all that stuff that you had at your fingertips right out your back door or whatever it was. That was pretty cool. And then you said now your dad was instrumental in buying that house, and then I think the Fiddlers also. I remember I went to school with the Ken Fiddler and Glenn Fiddler and Terry Wagner. So, and your sister was in my class also. So it was a lot of I bet you guys had a ton of fun down there.
We did. We did. And Laura Fiddler was the youngest.
Oh, okay.
And Laura and my second oldest sister, Beth, those two were really good friends. And yeah, well, as far as the schools, we went to Burien Heights Elementary, and then we went to Cedars Junior High, which is now the elementary, I think.
Yes, yes, yeah.
And then from there over to Highline High School.
So at Burien Heights now, you probably was just a stone's throw from where you live, but you probably had to drive all the way around over to Ambom and then get to the school, didn't you? Or you take a shortcut through there?
There was a shortcut.
Okay, sure.
You just head due east, straight up the hill from, I don't know which, well, it could have been 140th or whatever, but and then there's this, and it's still there, but it's called the Rock. And if two guys had a problem with each other, I'll meet you at the Rock.
Oh,
and it's it's a big gigantic rock sitting there, and I think it's probably 14 different colors of paint now. But it's just on the west side of the old Burien Garden apartments.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I don't remember a whole lot of elementary school, but I remember it was pretty small, and most of the kids' parents worked at Boeing, and because it was more temporary housing in the apartments there, so we'd get to know someone, and then all of a sudden, they would be gone. But good teachers, I do remember it. It was a small school atmosphere, and everyone knew everyone. But,
yeah, and let's see what else. Oh, you had what was it? It was Joe's Burgers, and then I think it became Ike's Hamburgers.
Yep.
over time later.
Whizburger was the one.
That was down a little closer, Burien, yes.
Yeah, Whizburger. Geez, the Frenchies, and hopefully everyone listening will, oh yeah, Frenchie. My wife keeps talking about those.
Everybody relates to the Frenchie, sure.
Yeah. Just, I was gonna say, skipping around probably too much, but Highline Swim Club, that was another instrumental place for me as a kid growing up. My dad got sick with Lou Gehrig's disease, and so uh, he was pretty much taken out of being able, being an active dad. So I spent most of my summers at Highline Swim Club, and I would volunteer there. So I would help put the bubble roof on and then take it down, which, insurance wise, I don't think they could do now because we'd be swimming, we'd be in the pool, and our job was to hold the collapsing roof from getting, sinking down and getting water on top of it.
Oh,
Can you imagine that? Hey, kids, hop in the pool. We're going to lower the roof on you. You'll be fine. Just hold your breath. So we would do that, and that was Earl McKinney.
Sure.
God, he taught me how to swim competitively. And he was my science teacher at Seahurst Junior High.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're good, just good people.
They had great swim teams at Highline over those period of years when Earl was in charge, I think. That was great.
Yeah. There was the Lotman family. That's a legacy, as far as swimming at Highline.
I've heard that, the Lotmans, and that's another name I'd like to get involved, have an interview with is Scott or Mark or one of those that were, around your age, my age, and then in between, So yeah, that was quite a swimming family.
Yeah. Very, and through mutual friends that I guess they're still swimming. More for fun, I think, than competitive. But I was gonna say, I worked at Vanino's restaurant, which is on the corner of 153rd and
Yes,
Ambaugh.
just behind us here, half a block.
And I mean, it was wild times.
Were you what were you doing there? Were you a waiter or a cook or a dishwasher?
I was a dishwasher.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of my first real paid jobs. But it was, boy, you sure learn fast, don't you, when you're in a restaurant?
Yeah.
And I think I was mentioning this to someone the other day, and it was an all-out war between the head chef that we had, or a cook, Tom Weir was his name, and he would, if someone would say, "Hey, my steak's not cooked well enough," oh man, that would just set him off, and he would take one of those grills, the weights, and just put it back on the grill and just sizzle the heck out of it. And then as the night would get on, he'd come. He was a practical joker. He was a really good guy, but he would come up with the dishwasher sprayer on the hose.
Oh, wow, yeah, sure.
And he would say something like, "Geez, John, it looks like you're working pretty hard tonight." And
the rinser.
Would get me. And so I did take one of his. He loved the mints that you could buy up front. And I carved out a hole, put some cayenne pepper in it, smoothed it all back over, and we called it even.
And it was just across the street from Pizza Haven, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we, on occasion, I think some of our staff or the staff would exchange pizza for Italian food.
Oh, I see,
But,
sure.
Roger, the Italian food, I think it was the Lombardo family, and I'm not sure on that. Really nice people, and they brought their dad, who was like 100% Italian, and he would actually hand make the gnocchis. Is that how you say that correctly? Gnocchis, and raviolis, and I mean, it's like, wow. So it was old world cooking, but yeah, it was fun time.
And just down the street and around the corner was the Blue Ox and Jim Moore's, which I had friends that were also worked there as like you as dishwashers, and so they kind of got their maybe not their first job, but one of their first jobs was started in dishwashing. So it was a paycheck, and that was the cool thing back then, anyway.
My following job, Bee Graves owned a Tall and Bigman store, and she was a regular guest at Vanino's. And she mentioned to the waitress, uh, I forget what her name was, but really nice gal. And she said, "Hey, that guy's a hard worker. Is he, is he available?" And so anyway, the waitress came in and said, "Hey, you should go out and at least say hi to her." So I ended up getting a job offer on the spot,
Oh, cool.
all sweaty, wet, and all that sort of, stuff. But yeah, so I worked at Tall and Big Men's store, which was on 153rd. I think it was about 4th Avenue.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Right, actually, it was right next to the Hobnobber.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It was right next door. Okay. I vaguely remember. Yeah.
Which the Hobnobber is still going.
Yes, it sure is. It's doing well.
And well, a friend of mine, Jim Lepresti,
Mhm.
who we stopped in there, oh, I don't know, a year ago just to see what it was like. And it was like it hadn't changed a bit, which is a good thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure some of the people, the old timers, were still sitting on the stools, but yeah, it was just a good times.
Yeah. Flashback.
Yeah.
Kind of. Sure.
Belzeburian.
Oh, yeah. Bells. Everybody remembers Bells and Lamont's.
Yeah.
I don't know the playfield and the field house. It might have been gone when well, it was gone mostly by about 60, 61. So
Okay.
you might remember it, but you were probably in the transition of moving into Hurstwood too at that time, weren't it, 61?
Yeah.
So yeah. And then I'm sure you pedaled your bicycle up out of that place many a time. It's quite a haul going uphill. Going down is not much to it because you just put your just ride for no pedaling involved. Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah, there was a hill. And either way you tried to get out of Hurstwood, it was a decent hill.
Okay. Yeah.
A couple of funny things on that note. So we lived on 17th, which you could say that's kind of like at the bottom of the bowl.
Hmm.
And so and there was only one way in on a car and one way out of Hurstwood. And you could hear if someone was speeding, really ripping it up, you could hear them and, you're going around like 16th or then the 17th and 18th. And there was a family up on 18th. And the husband was really hot tempered, hot blooded. And apparently a lot of drinking would go on, and the wife would take off, and she was upset about something. And then you could hear his car, and I think he had a Charger or something, but you could hear his car just absolutely burning out, following after all the way around Hurstwood. And it was you knew who it was.
Yeah. The sound probably stayed in there, and you could hear every curve and every bump in the road going up that in and out of those different areas of Hurstwood there, sure. And you might even get caught of course, they probably knew it well enough not to go down a dead end or anything too, or someone's driveway. Yeah.
Never gotten an accident that I knew of, but hey, on a fun sort of a note, so Highline High School,
Mhm.
and again, I graduated in 72, but a good friend of mine at the time, Brian Babcock, our art challenge was to make a kite. And so we thought, okay, we'll make a kite. And so we got the materials from the art department, and it was a butcher paper. And we glued up all the seams, and we made a kite, and it was roughly, I'm going to guess 20 feet,
Wow.
because we had to use Brian's dad or brother was into ham radio. So we took some really lightweight tubing,
Mhm.
and we actually got it to lift off the ground. And again, it was right there at Mosier Field. And apparently, someone from SeaTac called the school and say, "Hey, you guys know you have this 20-foot kite or whatever." So we couldn't. Well, we didn't have strong enough rope anyway. We just had twine, so it would go up and then the twine would snap.
Oh boy.
But and again, I hadn't thought of that in a long, long time.
So the observation tower,
Somehow.
SeaTac, that's what is going on over there at Mosier or Highline,
Yeah.
They find out it's just kids having fun, you
It
know.
was a school project.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah.
So I don't know what grade we got on that.
Well, I hope you got an A. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, kind of skipping around, and I apologize, but going to like the marine technology lab,
Mhm.
that since it was transitioning from the old to the new, and we were putting in a lot of fish tanks.
Oh, uh-huh.
And so Mr. Rice, he had us lay some PVC pipe, and we had to build these new filters for it. Well, we were under a tight budget, so we had to crack out the old PVC elbows in there were garbage cans that were filled with concrete with the elbows in it
Uh-huh.
and grading on top. But anyway, we had to crack those out, and this was for school, so cheap labor for there. And we cracked those things out and drug them out in low tide and put them back in. And I still have a cracked tooth as a reminder of that.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, it's good times.
So was that marine technology, was that connected to the program they had going at Highline College, or was that a different? Because I know Highline College had scuba diving
Right.
and that type of a thing, but they weren't this, they were two different things.
Yeah, and it is still, I think, two distinct entities. But low tide or whatever, we'd have dinners or meals prepared from all the stuff that we could find or source from the sound, which meant sea slugs and maybe spearfished a little bit, but stuff that we'd find in the tide pools. But again, that was such a good class.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that they still
Offer that?
well, I think they still have marine technology, but I don't think that they have the wet labs like we used to have, because you can peer through the little ports
Oh,
from the outside in, and they used to be able to look into all the different marine environments. But what else? There was some other.
they also have, I think, an environmental building down there in that area, don't they, down
Yeah, I think it's just off to the.
north or something of the where you, or is it?
It's I don't know. It's probably 60 feet away from the main technology building, but
Oh, okay.
it used to be the caretaker's house, I think.
Oh,
But I know it looks all brand new now. But anyway, we loved Cedars Beach. It was so many memories tied up in that.
uh-huh. Yeah, remember when I know that they built a seawall
Oh yeah,
and that was kind of pricey. And then they tore it down again, didn't they? Because it was just, they wanted to go back to natural or
yeah,
something.
yeah. And they put new plantings in of natural or native plants. But talking about the going south along the beach,
Hmm.
um, right up until Free Tree Point. But I remember as a kiddo walking along there, and you look at the bank, and the bank pretty much is still falling down into the water there.
Uh-huh.
But I do remember seeing structures built into the side of the bank, and it was like wood timbers, and I could never find it now. But I've often wondered, I know there was a lot of bootlegging,
Oh, sure. Uh-huh.
and this is all conjecture on my part, but
No, I think that's exactly right. Back in the 1915 to 20, prohibition and bootlegging, and that was all kind of happening back then. So there's probably some reminiscence down there that you could get down along there and check it out, but it's probably overgrown now. But
yeah, or the bank has eroded. But I do remember my Norwegian merchant marine grandfather saying that he knew of the enterprises that was going on down there, and the revenuers would be going up and down, patrolling the coast. But like the Fox Estate in particular, they could actually get their barrels in and get them up into the woods before anyone. And again, this is just conjecture.
uh-huh.
But I've often thought about going up in those woods with a metal detector and just to see what I could see.
Oh, uh-huh.
There's nothing left of the dam,
Uh-huh.
and I have taken my kids and now my grandkids up into the woods and just to see if we could find any more of the wire wrapped cedar pipe.
Oh,
But I just think it would be very fascinating. There's a
it
lot of history in there.
it might be there. It's just maybe overgrown or something, or I don't know, but
Even the
it would
roads have changed a little bit, but
have they?
in your contact or in your world, Roger, if you had any way of, if I'd love to get some pictures of what the Fox estate looked like
Mm-hmm.
when it was like brand new and really going, and you can see the happy faces on the grandkids going around the carousel or the merry-go-round.
Oh, fun.
I'm a grandpa, and it's like that's really stepping up to build a merry-go-round for your own grandkids.
Uh-huh.
Geez, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Fox was into timber and land, and that's where he did real well. So yeah, that's kind of how he made his fortune, I believe. So yeah, and that is an interesting story. So I need to follow through on finding more information on that. Yeah, thanks, John. But yeah, that's cool. And then you've yeah, you had kids and you have grandkids, so you're busy most of the time. You still have, but you still do some volunteer work here at the museum too. You've built a few things and you were involved during when we were putting the museum together, transitioning from the storage to the new building we're in today. So it was you've been very helpful.
It's a good cause.
And
Really.
you're a great carpenter besides. So,
Well, I'm surprised. Hey, everything's still holding up. I'm looking
uh,
out. But no, this museum is a very good cause. It's good to have all this information in one spot
uh-huh.
where people can find, look up again. I'm kind of mystified that there hasn't been any photos that I'm aware of the Fox estate being as grand as it was.
No, and I don't know. There have to be around, but I've combed through Highline Times pretty intensely, but something will come up one of these days that or someone, maybe you'll hear this and say, "Hey, I got this old picture of," but I know that the different I should have gotten some information. My brother actually was in about the same age as Bob Fox, the one that had the Mazda up there, Fox Mazda on First Avenue, across from Kennedy High School.
Yep.
Uh-huh. So that would be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, gee, this was very interesting, John. I don't know if you had any other stories that you'd like to share, but we had a good time reminiscing about what the heck Hurstwood. I remember when I was in high school, a friend of mine had an old 1953 or 1953, yes, Ford pickup, Mike Fasaro, and we used to take it down into Hurstwood there, and there's a road really rough. It was just for an old cars to get up, and it went behind a row of houses just at the entrance to going down into Hurstwood, and it came out up towards 144th, and I don't. We never did make it all the way through, but people used to, I think, take motorcycles up there and old beaters and stuff and try to get through there. But just it's kind of fun what kids would do, but without getting into a whole lot of trouble too.
Well, I'll back you up on that, Roger, is that my buddies and I, that's how we would get up to Cedars Junior High. It's somewhat of a shortcut, but it just ties in right there at the entrance to the beach or the park.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes, call it through the woods. And there's a little bit of a creek, but I remember in particular, there was this, was a GTO and it had purple, super duper sparkly or, metallic flecks on it.
Oh, wow.
Someone had stolen it, we're assuming, and had left it there. And we've, there were motorcycles dumped back in there. And yeah, I don't know. They had to work to get a vehicle in there, I think, especially if it's not an all-wheel drive. But
exactly.
I remember, yeah, that and parts were slowly scavenged off that GTO. But yeah, it was quite something to see.
Yeah, well, at least I think it's not accessible anymore that I'm sure of now. So,
One quick other point. So up on 18th Avenue, again, we're on 17th,
mhm.
and the Potters, the house is still there, but they landed a helicopter on their garage. They had the garage all beefed up, but it was really quite something. I mean, it's like it was Mrs. Potter, and she was part of the Powder Puffs. Really nice family. Um, and it was always amazing. But yeah, they were probably considered the upper crust of Hurstwood.
Oh, huh.
And again, I think they were probably one of the earliest houses along with ours, because their house
Oh.
was there. In fact, Ted Potter, the former traffic announcer,
Oh, uh-huh.
that's his mom.
Oh, so maybe it was his helicopter that he was.
Well, no, he would have been too young to fly a
Oh,
helicopter.
I see.
Yeah, she was I think the first female helicopter pilot in the water, or in the Seattle area.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was quite something that, and there were no other houses to be bothered by the
Oh,
helicopter
okay,
noise.
sure.
But then she had a really nice old Jaguar, with a convertible. All
Oh,
these things. It's like who was that? Who's the Greta Garbo or whatever? She would drive with her sports car roofed up. Who's the one that got?
oh, that was Jane Mansfield.
That's the one. Yeah. But
Ah.
so she would remind us of that.
Oh,
But yeah, that was interesting.
oh. And what was Wagner Street? What was that street?
They were on 18th also,
18th also.
right on the corner.
Oh, uh-huh.
So 17th would go up the street and then take a left to
Oh, okay. That was quite a vantage point, though. I mean, the views were pretty spectacular, weren't they? Up there?
Very.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, there's the Locks used to live up there. I think he was a judge.
Oh,
And then Georgette Valley.
oh, she lived in there too, huh?
Yeah. She was just on where 17th goes east and hooks up to, I think, 16th Avenue.
Oh, uh-huh.
She had a place right up there. It was pretty much as I think it must have been 16, about ready to move out of home.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I met her briefly because I was doing some work on I had a Toyota, and quiet is good, but loud is wonderful. And so I cut the muffler off. And she came out and expressed to me in no uncertain terms, it's not a very neighborly thing to do, to drive around Hurstwood without your exhaust.
Oh, yeah.
Which I would have done the same. But,
yeah. Well, yeah, we've all gone through the mufflers and the glass pack mufflers.
Yeah, the glass pack. I was in the
Mhm.
process of putting a glass pack on it, and it's like, yeah. Hurstwood I think it was a very diverse, very interesting place to live. But again, by the time I think I moved out when I just graduated from high school, and there were, we went from 8 houses in the whole neighborhood to, I don't know, seemed like hundreds. So we kind of lost that small town feeling, started not knowing our neighbors, but yeah, it was a good place.
It was neat to grow up in. Yep, I bet it was. Well, gee, John, I'm glad I had an opportunity to do this with you today. So
Likewise, Roger. Thank you very much.
yeah, okay, we will call it good. Thanks.